All right, hello and welcome to Political Voice. I'm Moses Humphrey. Now, today on Political Voice, we want to turn our attention to a subject that may not come to many as anything new, but its impact is certainly reverberating around the world. Now, Africa has definitely failed a section of its people, perhaps the largest section by sheer numbers. No fewer than 41 migrants have died in a shipwreck of the Italian island of Lampedusa. Now, a group of four people who survived the disaster told rescuers that they were on a boat that had set off from Sfax in Tunisia and sank on its way to Italy. Now, the four survivors, originally from Ivory Coast and Guinea, reached Lampedusa yesterday. That was Wednesday. Now, more than 1,800 people have lost their lives so far this year alone while trying to cross from North America to Europe. A local public prosecutor, Salvatore Vella, said he had opened an investigation into the tragedy. The survivors are a 13-year-old boy, two men, and a woman. And they told rescuers that they were on a boat carrying 45 people, including 3 children. They said the boat left Tunisia last Thursday, but sank within hours after being hit by a big wave. Now, only 15 people are understood to have been wearing life jackets. But this apparently failed to save their lives. The 4 survivors arrived in Lampedusa suffering from exhaustion and shock. Now, the Italian Coast Guard reported that 2 shipwrecks in the area on Sunday. Well, they reported 2 shipwrecks in the area on Sunday, but it is not clear whether this vessel is one of those one of those shipwrecks that they reported. The United Nations Migration Agency, the International Organization for Migration (IOM), said the migrants would have had little chance of survival. Well, I have some guests with me in the studio, 2 guests actually with me in the studio. I have the retired Commissioner of Police of your state, Mr. Chooks Nwanwu, and also an educationist and public affairs commentator, Moses Adebayo. Good morning, gentlemen.
Well, good morning, Moses.
Good morning, CP Chooks.
Good morning to you and good morning to the listeners.
All right, now, CP Chooks, let's look at, we know that migration, Africans in particular, I know some parts of the world, like Mexico, they also try to run away from their country. But Africans in particular are prone to always attempting to run away, either as stowaways or getting into ships, some by road even, to try escape to Europe. One would say it's because of the bad economic conditions in the continent. Why do you think this has persisted?
Well, it's unfortunate that we have such a situation. The scenario has been very persistent over time, and it is predicated on 2 things. One, the harsh economic realities, and secondly, the large number of school leavers who have absolutely nowhere to fall back to in terms of employment. These are the 2 factors that has caused the increase in people trying to migrate out of whichever of the nations, thinking of greener pasture, especially in Europe. Having said that, you find out that the risk is very high. The hazards are obvious. Obvious in the sense that, number one, you have to go through the desert, especially for Nigerians. Let me take Nigeria as Nigerian context as a reference point. For you to cross the desert, that means you have to pass either through Chad or through Niger. And as you're passing, you pass Libya, or you go to Tunisia, or you go towards Egypt, or you go to Algeria, those North African countries. The desert itself, if I tell you the dangers in the desert, it is terrible. It is such that in some cases, vehicles will even break down. People will die there of harsh desert conditions. No water, no food, nothing, dry desert. Then some of them will still end up lucky to get to the coast of the Mediterranean Sea in North Africa. Crossing the Mediterranean Sea is another danger in itself, total danger. Because number one, which vessel are you even going to use? You have shipwrecks, ships that are designed to cross this sea. Because these ones are also designed to cross the ocean, whether it's Atlantic or Pacific or India or Arctic or Arctic oceans. Now, you now put in vessels that have not been tested, that are not reliable, and the owners of the vessel are just doing a trial and error thing. Their interest is, it is commercially driven.
Okay.
Whatever gains they are going to make, they put in the ships. And that's why, in good number of cases, they don't make it.
Now, Moses Adebayo, Lampedusa.
All over again.
All over again. We've had several shipwrecks around there. A lot of people are trying to cross from Tunisia to Italy. Quite a lot this year. And it's just August this year. What is Africa not getting right?
You know what? At the risk of sounding Hitler-esque or maybe even Stalin-esque, because these are men that they typify anything unsavory in history. I want to consider with those lives or family members of those who have lost their lives once, though avoidably, though needlessly. This is not new at all. From your prologue, nothing novel about what just happened. As a matter of fact, you think possibly this should make headline news again and again, and it's unfortunate. As much as I want to always face reality, yes, things are so harsh, and that is understated in Africa. Very many terrible things happen around us. Bad leadership over time, sometimes also bad followership, ethnicity, many fault lines that define Africa and have defined Africa again and decade in, decade out. But is it worth the risk? Is it worth taking the risk? Some certainties where you are, you know what, I've always thought of it. If truly the grass is greener on the other side, there shouldn't be a fence covering it. If truly the grass is greener on the other side, then there shouldn't be any barricade. Let me see that grass, so green that I can afford to live where I am.
Well, if the grass is greener, wouldn't you protect it? Of course you would.
Protecting it is an entirely different nature now. I mean, if truly some of them have this mythical belief that, maybe when you cross to the other side, Europe and the Americas, you possibly will pick money on the roads. Things will work there, yes, but it's still a human society. They have their faults too. I've always told myself, will I ever find myself in a place like America? I don't think so. I can't imagine myself going to a country where someday someone who is just fed up with life, who got disappointed maybe by a lover, gets a gun because he has access to, unbridled access to a gun and kills everyone. I won't go there. I remember recently, and not too long ago, one of Africa's top most writers, the writer of, I think Ayikwe, right? One of his, I think even got killed. I think he's a Ghanaian or a Kenyan. He was part of those that were unfortunate. One mass murderer just approached them, got them, hijacked, got them, the word now eludes me. And he got this very important writer. He killed him. What am I saying? Is it worth taking the risk to leave a rather bad place for something you don't even know what transpires?
Uncertainty.
Lessons over time, if we learn, keep showing that these are not risks worth taking. The CP just said, let me round off on this thought. There are some vessels made for such large bodies of water. You don't go there with this vessel because the same thing we hear all the time. They are always cramped in one small lifeless boat and no life jacket, nothing. They are exposed to danger. So as much as I feel bad, of course, it's a human and good story. I'm not happy to hear that lives are lost needless, avoidably. But then we can't afford to still put ourselves in harm's way, all because we believe that the grass is greener on the other side when there's a fence blocking it from you and from seeing it.
All right. Well, the fact still remains that if Africa doesn't put its house in order, Africans will continue to run away.
But is it worth at the edge of your life?
Oh, well, risk, they say, life itself is a risk.
It is too risky to take such risk.
Well, to be honest, stepping out of your house is a risk. You never know what will happen when you try to cross the gutter.
But not to be compared with when you know
now, let's look at the case of Tunisia now. There has been a case of racism in Tunisia. Tunisians are basically don't even see themselves as just Africans anymore. They see themselves as Arabs, which of course they are. And now the president of Tunisia made a statement earlier in the year which has reignited racist actions in the state. He did say something. He said he ordered security forces to stop all illegal migration and expel all undocumented migrants in Tunis. Now, this statement was made in February 25 this year. Well, I'm trying to quote him now. I can't find that quote now where he said they're trying to make Tunisia less of an Arab country, having other people of other countries and people of color.
You've quoted him verbatim. That was what he said.
Now, we also do know that there are black Tunisians.
Yeah.
There are black Tunisians. Maybe due to the Tunisians' role in slave trade, because they played a role during the slave trade era. Now, we have black Tunisians. Even those ones are not safe anymore. What do you say to slave trade? Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. What do you say to racism in Africa perpetrated by Africans? Whether we like it or no or yes, Tunisia is still within the African map.
Well, that was on becoming of a head of state. No decorum, flippant, careless, and that should want him for as long as he lives. But then, you've said it out that, let me just paint an analogy clearly. When Morocco at the last World Cup held in Qatar, when they got to semi-finals, in fact, for every victory, for every large scalp they claimed beating mighty teams, when Africans, CAF, other African countries want to felicitate them, they let them know, no, it's an Arab victory. And Morocco, Tunisia, almost same ilk. They don't regard themselves as Africans. They don't. They only pretend when it is convenient for them economically. They only identify with the Africans when they want certain things, when it's going to really favor them. Otherwise, they readily flaunt their Arab identity above anything. So for the president in Tunisia, I think is his side, name now, but that's the person. For him to admit such thing, he has only expressed their deep-seated animosity against blacks and Africans. Since they don't consider themselves as Africans, and Africans are, of course, some region Africa is essentially black. They see anything that comes from their ass. He made the statement that he don't want Tunisia to be like Africans and not like Arabs anymore. It's so clear his posture towards the black man, and by extension, Africans who are blacks. The Tunisians the black Tunisians in their midst, well, it's unfortunate. Maybe sanity, because that was rather insane. Maybe sanity will still prevail, because any black Tunisian now should look behind his shoulders very carefully. Am I living in the right place? For a man to have said this, it has only shown where we lie in his heart. He made that statement, and unfortunately, AU, neither would any other body from Africa or any sub-regional body condemn such statement. He got almost scot-free with it. So that is a thing we should think of or mull over in this part of the world. The justice themselves as part of us, so we should stop pretending as if we are friends. No, we're not.
All right, CP. Now, we hear that around 10 to 15% of Tunisia's own population is black. Some are descended from the native Amazigh population of North Africa, while the ancestors of others are believed to have migrated from nearby states, and others were brought to Tunisia as part of the slave trade era. But the president, in his speech, said, regardless of how you got to Tunisia, one, your skin color matters. If you're black, you're not regarded as Tunisian. And he did say that what it means to be Tunisian is, one, you have to be a Muslim. Two, your skin color plays a role. How does this relate or solve the problem of one Africa?
It is very unfortunate that a president and a head of government of an African nation will make such a statement. Africa, as is known as a continent, is a continent of blacks, black-dominated continent. And be that as it may, it presupposes that once you are a national, you have equal rights and you should have equal opportunity in that nation state. And furthermore, there should not be anything like discrimination based on either gender, color, or religion. It is, it is a no-go area. But if a president could descend to that level to say a thing like that, it is absolutely condemnable and unfortunate. In 21st century, things like that should not even rear its head. The last of the apartheid regime we saw in Africa was in South Africa. And we thought the thing is over and out by now.
Apparently not.
You know, and just like what happened in Zimbabwe, when Mugabe came in 1980, the late President Robert Mugabe, he was so bitter that he was taking over, he was appropriating and reappropriating the lands of the white farmers. Many of them had to run away from Zimbabwe. Some ran to South Africa. Even some came to Nigeria. And they were well received in Kwara State, where they settled and began large farm estates. But the present regime in Zimbabwe said, no, we cannot be doing back and forth. We have to see ourselves as one. He asked them to come back. As we speak, many of them are back to Zimbabwe, and their lands are released to them. So how can we be going back and forth? A place like Tunisia, well blessed with tourism, has a lot of industries and so much potential that people from all over the world flood Tunis and all those coastal cities of Tunisia. And they have, if you look at their GDP, they have so much. It's a very stable economy. So it should be a place for live and let live. Whether they are Christians, they are blacks, it's immaterial. It does not stop anything. What matters is when you do your election, since you have 85%, they will vote in the Arabs. The Arabs will take the dominant places. Then they have a say too. You should allow them to run affairs of the areas they come from, the places they dominate. They should be free in this 21st century to, as a secular state, they should be free to attend to whichever faith they believe in.
Do you think Tunisia is a secular state? I don't think they say themselves as a
Tunisia is not a secular state.
No.
They don't see themselves as one.
What do you call Egypt? Egypt have churches. If you go to Cairo, they have churches for both Pentecostals, for Catholics, for Anglicans. Even in China, they have churches.
But Egypt is also referred officially as the Arab Republic of Egypt.
But then they have churches and they accommodate Christians.
Well, Tunisia is making itself, is separating itself from this as it stands, and that is why we are having a lot more attempts to migrate, because the blacks there, those that migrated to Tunisia or those that were born there, are feeling very, very, very uncomfortable at the moment, and they all want to run away. That's why we have an increase.
If you check the statistics of those doing the sea crossing, they are from West and Central Africa.
They've always been from West Africa.
Some of them.
Most of them.
Now, so do you think ECOWAS should say something in this regard?
Are you asking the question, Moses? Look, I am surprised that ECOWAS and AU and even some of the other sub-regional bodies that maybe guide the Eastern African countries, the Kenyans, the Ethiopians, and what have you, because most of their nationalities are always victims of this. I'm surprised they've kept a very nauseating silence. In this case, their silence is not golden at all. It's like a tacit approval of what they are doing to their people. Where are the sanctions? Where is the as in calling from whatever their ambassadors? Tunisia is not
sanctions given.
Tunisia is not that mighty that they can be called to order. Tunisia is not the United States. Neither is Russia. So why can a country like Nigeria, South Africa, those that actually dominate the AU, why can't they call them to order? Because it's a case of they don't really regard themselves as part of us, and we still pretend that they are part of us. If this happens in the Arab world, I'm sure OIC, or the Islamic Conference, would have sanctioned Tunisia, and they know what they will face.
What's your take, CCP?
No, what he has said is perfectly enough.
When xenophobia happened in South Africa, who made noise about it? It was allowed to continue for a long time. There was little being said, and Nigerians were the ones, at the receiving end the most.
Yes, Nigerians were targets because they were too loud, especially some of those.
But that does not justify.
It doesn't justify that. But then that was exactly what we experienced, especially those who are kids and came from Southeast and South. They were mostly the victims and the target during the xenophobia thing. And that one is an isolated case. It is just prevalent around South Africa. The other South African economic group, SADC or whatever they call themselves, we are not in support. No. You don't have such things happening either in Zimbabwe or in Zambia or in Angola and so on and so forth. You don't experience things like that. And then talk of East Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda, and so on and so forth. You don't experience things like that too. You see, this issue of discrimination is, it's outrageous, to say the least. It should not be tolerated. It should not be encouraged. It is something that we should continue to preach against. And I expect...
So who should who should start the preaching against it now?
There is an African Union. If truly they are existing, if truly they have formed a bond as they claim, then they should act and strongly too.
Exactly.
There is an AU. So we shouldn't beat around the bush about this. If there is truly an AU, if not only by nomenclature, if they are truly united, if they deserve to be called a union, then they should act and make it strongly, very clearly that they condemn this. Sanctions are there. Summon their ambassadors, their plenipotentiaries, summon them, severe ties with them. Let them know that they can't just do anything, kill people and go with it. Otherwise, nothing will happen. Nothing will change.
All right, then. Well, this is how far we can stretch this topic. So let's go on to the other topic that we have on our plate this morning. Now, Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, says he will not forgive those enforcing sit-at-home order in his name. Now, his counsel, Aloy Ejimako, in a post on his official Twitter handle, official X handle, on Tuesday, quoted Nnamdi Kanu as asking him to share their conversation when he visited him. Now, this development comes days after the IPOB leader said Mondays will now be known as Economic Empowerment Days in the Southeast. And Ima Powerful, IPOB's spokesperson, had said that the EED, which is Economic Empowerment Days, will replace the sit-at-home order, which Kanu had recently ended. Now, the governor of Enugu State, Peter Mba, had said that the state lost 10 billion naira every Monday to the sit-at-home order. Ima Powerful also said the EED will help the Southeast residents to devote their resources towards reversing the financial losses from the prolonged sit-at-home. Now, let me come to you now. Sit-at-home started 2 years ago, 2021.
Yes.
And it was because of wanted to protest each time Nnamdi Kanu was taking to courts, so that, but now it has spiraled into a different thing, to the point where residents are being killed when they come out to get their daily bread. What's your take on the EED, Economic Empowerment Day, which is what Mondays are to be known for now?
Well, it's a step in the right direction. It's a positive step, actually. People can now come out boldly and conduct their lawful businesses. A situation where you keep people at home against their will and against their wish contravenes the 1999 Constitution, where people should enjoy freedom. They are infringed on their fundamental human rights, where they have the rights of freedom of movement, freedom of association, and so on and so forth. So for you to box them against their will and against their wish is rather a very obnoxious behavior towards the common man or the masses, because they are the ones that suffered most. For the business class, many of them have options. They have businesses outside that southeast that will take them out, maybe to Lagos or to Abuja or to Ibadan, and so on and so forth. They have outlets. But for the masses, everything begins and ends right there, locally, in the southeast. So with this EED that they've just started, Economic Empowerment Day and all that, people, as they come out, they'll start recovering from the huge losses they have suffered over the past 2 years. The losses were enormous, and it was catastrophic, to say the least. So I think with this recent development, it is much better than what we have had in the past 2 years.
All right.
Yeah, for me, I just hope it isn't a case of just a change in nomenclature label. I hope it isn't a case of calling 6 half a dozen. What about the Samuel Ekpa angle or Simon Ekpa angle? Has that been tackled? Because he's one man hiding in the Nordland of Finland, as in the cold region of Finland, and he keeps lighting the gas in Nigeria via the southeast. Undoubtedly, they've been crippled, and I wouldn't want to say it in isolation. We've been crippled because we're Nigerians. Whatever happens in the southeast has a way of affecting everyone in Nigeria. Of course. Yes. So we've been crippled from that aspect of our lives, from that part of the country. Billions, untold billions have been lost needlessly, avoidably. Is there a solution in sight? I hope so.
Now, what would you say led to putting an end to this seat at home?
It's obvious. They've been wrecked beyond their imagination. Yes, it started innocently, if I use that word carefully. Oh, we want to protest against whatever is done to our leader.
Detention of
but sometimes when you puncture the wall just because you want to let go of just one small ant, if care is not taken, that wall will get bigger, it festers them more, and there'll be room for lizards, even snakes to enter, to go through the wall. They wanted Nnamdi Kanu, their leader, of course, to get justice, whatever. But some people have cashed in, and that is why nowadays people are wary when it comes to anything protest. Because I will say it, I'm a living example of someone who lost a lot during NSAS and by extension COVID lockdown in 2020. I hope I recover for the end of this decade. So when something, they may start very well with innocent intentions, but be assured that some unscrupulous elements will hijack this well-intentioned protest, well-intentioned movement, and they'll make a mess as we have in the southeast today. An average Igbo man, they've been, as in the creator, if you believe in one, has been giving them that industry as when it comes to getting things done in terms of trade and what have you, they are just preeminent. I've always told myself, if you get to any part of Nigeria, anywhere in the world, and you don't find an Igbo man there, maybe you are not on earth, because they go everywhere to ensure that the commerce of whichever area they get to is enhanced, and that's to their eternal credit. But now it's a case of physician heal thyself. You go about healing other people's children. but your own child is dying. An able man goes out there to the southeast, to the northeast, to the southwest, to the northeast, north central, even outside Nigeria, and they excel by virtue of whichever aura they carry in terms of business, trade, commerce. But yet, right there, even their backyard, they are on their knees, and you can't dispute that. The earlier they truly make EED a reality, the better, so that Nigeria will stop bleeding, hemorrhaging from that aspect.
Now, let's CP. When Peter Mbah came into office on May 29, 2023, he did say that the sit-at-home order has to stop, and he seemed to have, worked in concert with other governors in the southeast to see that yes, it is put to an end. Why didn't the previous governor or governors in that region do anything about the sit-at-home order?
I think I saw some political undertone in the character and conduct of the previous governors. You see, just like politicians, like the saying goes, statesmen think of the next generation, while the politician is thinking of the next election. Their own was, they didn't want to offend anybody, whether they are criminal gangs, masquerading themselves in the name of IPOB, or using the name of Eastern Security Network and so on. They didn't want to offend anybody. That was why they just kept quiet. And unfortunately for them, Nemesis caught up with them. That is exactly why the man from Abia ended up losing senatorial election. He even came third in that election. The Labour man came second. Then the man who had always been there, Enyinnaya Baribe, who carpet crossed and left his PDP for him and went to ABGA, a less known party in Abia, won the seat squarely from Abia South. The same happened to the man from Enugu North, Uwani. He lost to a greenhorn called the man from Labour Party. So you can see what I'm trying to say, that their interest was selfish, it was parochial, and that was why the Nemesis, being what it is, Kama, visited them. That election they were targeting,
they lost it.
They lost it completely. Now there's a new sheriff in town. These other ones are more committed and want to leave a legacy. That's why they are taking it upon themselves to come out strong to begin to challenge this this scenario.
Okay.
Sorry, I always said, I was here sometime before, and I said something like, if we are to get rid of this very palatable situation, this security disturbance all around, it's only incumbent on the locals to cooperate with authorities. Security is about coordination, I say, and cooperation. If this work, EED, Economic Empowerment Day, if it will work indeed, let everyone that still harbor maybe a kind of sympathy towards these brigands, these killers. Because I saw one video how that at a point they went to a school when WAEC was on, I think that was last year, and they flogged both the students, the candidates, and teachers. You couldn't go any lower than that. So let everyone involved truly cooperate with the government. Let them chase away these people. Let them, they can get rid of them. OPC was almost going to be a monster forever in the Southwest, but when people came together, they got rid of their madness. So they need to work with authority. You should not harbor, you should not still keep some sentiment that, oh, maybe they are fighting. They are not fighting for you. The person that will cripple your business, will make you almost redundant in life, is not fighting your cause. No, it's not.
All right, now Peter Mbah did say that Enugu State itself has lost about 10 billion naira every Monday. If you collate that for over 100 Mondays that they've experienced the seat at home, then you know that the state has lost quite a lot of money.
That's about 40 billion. That's exaggeration.
40 billion?
40 billion in a month is exaggeration.
Okay, but bottom line is that they have lost money.
Of course, in billions.
They've lost, yes.
Yes.
Do you see, how long do you think it will take to recover? Will this economic empowerment lead to the process of recovery?
To be frank with you, it will take quite a while. But like the Trojans, the people from the southeast have this tenacity to survive very harsh and hard conditions. Take for instance what happened to them after the 3 years of civil war between 6th of July 1967 and 15th of January 1970. There was so much carnage, massive destruction of lives and property. And at the end of the day, they were given 20 pounds. Those of them who had accounts and those in government and so on and so forth. And they started from there. Within 5 to 8 years, the speed of recovery was startling and began to put economic pundits into asking questions. Which race is this? How come they've gone this far and they have recovered and caught up with all other parts of the country and even surpassed some, So I still see or foresee the same thing repeating itself this time around.
But can the Southeast afford to go through this again and again, this endless cycle?
That's the unfortunate part of it. It's really a painful part. And I don't really know how and why we degenerated to that extent. And you can see that it is clear case of some people with criminal enterprise trying to foster on what they believe would have, paid them off, like the man in Finland. He's fueling the thing because he's being sponsored. Some people are contributing money to him. Those who are naive anyway, hoping that he's going to get a country for them. Is that the way to get a country? That's not the way. Even if you agree to balkanize, you do it through constitutional and legal means. It has to come up through a referendum and through the National Assembly. The people themselves will agree that, look, because of the way things are, let us loosen this federation. Let's have a weak center and strengthen the regions. That with that kind of confederation, things we had in the 60s, with that, the center will be less attractive. Then you can see the speed and pace some of the geopolitical regions will move. So that's the direction I've been expecting will go, rather than somebody talking of, having a nation out of the existing Nigerian state.
Now, so the man who has fueled this for the longest time, he didn't start it, but he chimed in on it, and he seemed to have had support from some influential people. I'm talking Simon Ekpa now, who is in faraway Finland working. He goes to work on Mondays. And there was even talk about him wanting to contest elections over there. So if he's contesting elections over there, how then can he still hold the position of Prime Minister of Biafra?
In exile, Biafran government in exile. He must be a clown.
In your own opinion, what do you think should be done to curb his excesses and maybe bring him to book?
Unfortunately, he has succeeded in cashing in on the naiveties, the ignorance, the unbridled aspiration of nationhood. You can as well go. I remember how Cameroon, Southern Cameroon left Nigeria through plebiscite in 1961. It was done with ease. They didn't want to be a part of Nigeria, and they allowed them to go. If that would be the case, it's not a big deal. Yugoslavia balkanized in the 80s, in the 90s, and so many countries, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Serbia, and what have you. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria, no. But if you go about it in the wrong way, then two wrongs will never ever make it right. For Samuel Ekpa, he knows that some people actually have this, as I used before, and just going to make it a cliche, a tacit support for what he's doing. You won't have so much carnage if some people don't believe that maybe what this guy is doing is right. Yorubas will say, that is, if there is no crack on the wall, you don't expect the lizard to come in. And if I even say the other way, if you go out there to fetch a firewood, ant-infested firewood, then be ready to entertain lizards and all rodents around you. Let everyone come out clean. And by that I mean the governors should really act as security chiefs in their states, because they play clever by half. When things are not going their way, easily they will say, oh, we don't control the police, we don't control the army and what have you. But when it has to do with their security vote, they are never found wanting. So let there be a case of total cooperation. This can be done away with if there is coordination at the federal level, in collaboration with the state level, and the cooperation of the locals. They don't want to remain. We don't want to remain this way, because I have students in some parts of Southeast. I remember 2, 3 of my students last year. They went to Nsukka to write their post-jam. They left Lagos. Daniel, Precious, and Divine. These boys, they were supposed to come back to Lagos on a Monday to get 1 or 2 things to go back again. They couldn't. I said, oh, it's a Monday, so they couldn't. It affects everything. Every strata of life is affected. So they want to try to liberate themselves by cooperating with the forces that want to liberate them. If they still stay away, if they still harbor or they play what they call Jekyll and Hyde, whereby on the one part they want to do it with Samuel Ekpa and whatever he has to offer, on the other hand they still sympathize with him, then they won't get results. They won't. This will only fester, and again we keep losing. We keep hemorrhaging. Southeasterners are known as the CP has already said. They have the, if I sound spiritual now, the grace to get business. Commerce, nobody comes there. But if they are the same people shooting themselves on the foot, then it's a huge paradox. You can't just explain it. So let them cooperate with authorities that are ready to liberate them. And Nigeria will be a better place, a greater place, when all federating regions, all federating units are really doing very well. If one is not doing very well, even the 5 will not sleep. If the Southeast, as we have it right now, is not really thriving business-wise, it's affecting Nigeria. In no time, we will lose our status as Africa's #1 economy, because it takes all regions to form Nigeria. It takes all states to form Nigeria. But if a part of Nigeria is bleeding, if a particular part of Nigeria is suffering what a medical doctor would call is it gangrene, then if you sever that part, cut it off, then that part of Nigeria, or Nigeria as a whole, will feel it again and again. So let us get this thing done once and for all. Locals cooperate with the forces that want to liberate you. Simon Ekpa has nothing good to offer you. He's right there in Finland, having the best of time on Monday mornings. And we know how sacred Fela sang now, Monday morning. You know what obtains on the Monday morning. You go out there, you see how serious people are looking. How it starts the week work-wise. So if Monday is cut off, then what do you do on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? So we want to come together now and chase away our common enemy, and that is Samuel Ekpa and Simon Ekpa.
Now let me. Can't the government extradite him? Is there? Do we have extradition laws with Finland enough? Even if we don't have, because I don't think we do. But are there grounds on which he could be extradited and made to face the law for chaos that he has caused with his broadcasts and things like that?
Of course, there is provision for extradition, no matter the part of the world that you have gone to hide. It is a question of the Foreign Affairs Ministry doing the needful. And the needful is, whether there is Minister for External Affairs or Foreign Affairs or not, there is still an institution called Foreign Affairs Ministry. And there is a DG or Permanent Secretary heading the place.
But there was a time it seemed like there was going to be some sort of extradition, but that didn't happen.
No, they need to do a follow-up. It takes some pressure. It takes, especially the stakeholders, need to do a follow-up on it. Now that the ministers has been nominated, if their portfolios are assigned to them, they should not allow the Minister for Foreign Affairs to sleep with 2 eyes closed. They should continue to press on him for them to follow the due process, the legal process of seeking for extradition of that man. He needs to come back here and face the consequences of his action, because he has caused so much damage in the Southeast in terms of loss of lives and property. If they collect what he has done, well, I don't need to say, let the law take its course. I'm sure certainly he will pay dearly for it.
All right. Then. Now, as to the economic empowerment days, are we going to see a situation whereby this will, blossom into something fruitful, or should we be worried that there might be some reason to fall back? What can happen that that can make Southeasterners go back to, maybe not back to sitting at home, but back to the unrest that was experienced much earlier.
There is a huge trust deficit when it comes to government and government in Nigeria today. However good intention government policies are, they come out with concepts, they come out with programs, they come out with policies. You know that an average Nigerian is cynical. This EED may as well, if not well handled.
This is not a government thing. This is an Nnamdi Kanu thing, actually.
But it won't be done in isolation. But Peter Mbai is aware of what is going on. Even governors in the South region. Now, EED, a laudable one, if those that will be in charge of the program will be honest, and because there is this sneak feeling. I was talking to someone not so long ago. Oh, you call the senators all manner of them. Fine. Call anybody, any top person in Nigeria. But just this year, when there was the Emefiele cash crunch, because it was Emefiele reading, we had Nigerians that showed their true fangs. They showed their fangs. I was to withdraw 50,000 naira. I paid 60,500 naira to withdraw 50,000 naira. I still look at it that these are Nigerians that
paid
62,500 naira
to withdraw
50,000 naira.
So
you have
what
the
you
right.
paid was more than what you
by far
withdrew.
And that was not peculiar to me. It happened across board. So what I'm saying is that the program, if well run, if well carried out, they should regain their status. Like the Southeasterners, like Germans, when they were brought to their knees after the Second World War, in less than a decade, Germany bounced back, and today they are the strongest economy in Europe. So the Southeast region, we can't talk with them when it comes to the economy and commerce. But will those that will handle this EED be sincere? Because anything that comes from Nigerians, we are bound to be cynical. And people who cash in on something. It's always going to be a meal ticket for some. This is our chance to make our own too. So we want to really watch over what we want to do from now. EED can restore the Southeast in no time. I trust their industry. I trust our abilities. I trust the aura of the average Igbo man, and I'm proud to be Nigerian with them. But then, will it work because some people will allow it to work? I'm being cynical, I'm being skeptical. Maybe they answer my questions by being true to it and let Southeast come back from its knees and make Nigeria even stronger again.
All right, let's get your final thoughts now, CP. Final thoughts on this.
Let me start again with the Mediterranean crossing.
Okay.
There needs to be sensitization of these youth and frustrated Nigerians who are thinking of migrating to Europe. They should be advised to follow the proper channel. If they have their papers, they should go to the embassies and try their luck. If you're doing a flight from Europe into Africa and you're lucky, maybe a day flight, you are sitting by the window. If you're watching the Mediterranean Sea, it will take you more than 1 hour, 30 minutes to cross the sea from Europe till you enter Libya or Tunisia.
In a flight.
In a flight. That means going from here to Maiduguri, you are still on water. So it's like an endless trip, unless you have a ship, not even a boat, that is designed to weather the storm with compass. Because when you look left, you can't see land. You look right, you can't see land. So it's just trial and error that they are doing. For them to continue that, we will continue to experience loss of lives on that side. Then concerning the issue of this Eastern economic empowerment thing, for it to be sustained, they need the cooperation and collaboration of the people, the populace. If they see any strange persons or movements, and even camps of these brigands, let them quietly, they shouldn't talk carelessly or talk to any security operative on the street. They should go straight to the military commander or to the police commissioner and give them information, direct with the commissioner, so that if anything happens to him, he will know where the thing is coming from. With that, they'll be able to identify those black spots and criminal hideouts in those forested areas where they operate from. And they can plan their operation, go and wipe out the place and recover arms and make arrests. That's my own take.
All right, then. Thank you very much, CP Chukwu, former Commissioner of Police of your state. Now, Moses, let's get your thoughts as well, your final thoughts.
Oh, thank you. Again, I know that life and lives must be preserved. It's incumbent on you to value your existence, to value your life. And as such, you do all it takes. Financially, economically, even spiritually. I maintain delusion is a reason many of them risk their lives and lose their lives as a massive scale. The grass is never greener on the other side. You don't go out there to Europe to pick money on the ground. You walk. Systems differ, yes. The reason you want to leave, but at what cost? You want to leave your country for a place you are never certain of, and you end up, there are many precedents. You've seen this happen again and again. But some will tell themselves that it won't happen to me. It's not my portion. Who? Are you kidding me? You want to cross the Mediterranean and you are going to use just one very small boat. It will be tossed away by the wind. And they should avoid this.
All right.
Sensitization again and again from all authority, all sorts of authority. You don't have to go there and kill yourself, because the danger ahead far outweigh whatever gains you think you get from there. And for the East, maybe they are on their way back. Maybe the South is on its way back. I believe so.
All right, we believe so indeed. I must say a very big thank you to you too, Moses Adebayo, for coming up. Moses Orisha-Jolomi.
You're right.
Adebayo.
Thank you very much.
All right, then. Thank you for coming on the program. Well, that's it for Political Voice today. The program will make a return same time tomorrow. On behalf of the crew, I say thanks for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe and share from our page on YouTube. It is Voice of the People TV. That's how we appear on YouTube. And on other social media channels, we are at VOP TV Live. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.